Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. We are going to learn how to solve multi-step equations with variables on both sides. Yesterday you learned the first step to solving these equations with variables on both sides. Hopefully you didn't get too overwhelmed with it. It is a new concept, but we were used to solving equations with variables on just one side. We only had one variable. And then we learned how can we take a variable that's on both sides of your equal sign and combine them onto one side. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. And we're going to add one extra step to this today. Okay, so let's take a look though. Before we take a look at doing some examples, let's go back through our steps. Well, what step is new today is this very first step. Our very first step here says to combine something terms on the same side of the equal sign. Well, I want to combine like terms on the same side of the equal sign. So if you take a look at this example that I have here, on the left side of my equal sign, and I knew I drew over top of that, but over here on my left side of my equal sign, I have 5 minus 6 plus 2x. Well, I'm allowed to combine this 5 minus 6 over here, okay? And when I do that, I get a -1 plus I bring down that 2x. And then over here on my left side, this 4x plus 1, well, I can't do anything with that. So then I just bring that down, 4x plus 11. Okay, so I have -1 plus 2x equals 4x plus 11. And then we're back to where we were yesterday. We don't have to do anything, any other new information here. So the only thing new today is before I take and combine the variables on one side, I have to combine like terms on the left side, combine like terms if I can on the right side, and then you take the smaller number, the smaller variable term to the larger variable term, which brings us to step 2. Okay, step 2 says to add or subtract the variable terms to move to the same side if needed by taking the smaller variable term to the larger variable term. And I know that's hard to remember. So an easy way for us to help you to remember that is baby bear wants to meet his mama bear. And I know that sounds really silly. Okay, but the baby bear wants to meet his mama bear. What does that mean? Well, a baby bear obviously is smaller than its mama bear. So the baby bear wants to go meet his mama bear. So in this example, I want this baby bear of the 2x, and it needs to go meet its mama bear, which is the 4x. And you might be wondering, well, why is the baby bear 2x and why is the mama bear 4x? Well, if you look at the coefficients, your coefficients are the numbers that come before the variable. This 2 is smaller than the 4. And 2 is your baby bear, and 4 is your mama bear, because 2 is smaller than 4. So when I take the 2x over, you need to make it its opposite, because you're taking it to the other side. You can't just take the positive 2x, you have to take a negative 2x, okay? And then that will make it into a two-step equation where we're going to use inverse operations to add or subtract, and then use inverse operations to multiply or to divide. And I'm going to go through this example on the next slide. So let's take a look here. But before we do the next, that example again, you might be confused still on the baby bear, mama bear thing. So here's a review question. Okay, so when we talk about baby bear, mama bear, again, your baby bear is the smaller variable term and your mama bear is your larger variable term. So what we did yesterday is if you look at this equation here, I have 3x plus 6 equals 5x plus 2. What you need to do is we need to take a look at my variable terms. There are variable terms on the left side and on the right side of my equation. If you look here, I have a 3x and I have a 5x. All I want to look at is my coefficients. Those are the numbers that come before the variable. So if you look, the 3 is smaller than the 5. So the 3 would be my baby bear, and my 5 would be the mama bear. So I would want to take this 3x over to the 5x. Okay. So when I go ahead and solve this equation, remember we always do our line going down. I'm taking this positive 3x, but I want to make it a negative 3x when I take it over. Why do I do that though? Why do I take that and make it a negative? Because I want the terms, that baby bear over on the left side, it has to go meet its mama bear. It's no longer there. It crossed out. Okay, so now you are left with the 6. You bring the 6 down. And then 5x minus 3x, that's 2x. And then you bring down the 2. Okay. And then at this point, you're just back to where we were last week with a 2-step equation. So I want to get rid of this plus 2 and I make it a minus 2. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So 6 minus 2 is 4. I bring down this 2x. Okay. And your last step then is to either multiply or to divide. And I'm going to divide here because this is 2 times x. So I want to divide because this is 2 times x. And so I'm going to divide both sides by my coefficient of 2. So the 2 and the 2 on the right side cross out. And what I'm left with is x equals 2. Okay, 4 divided by 2 is 2. And like I said yesterday, you can substitute your answer back into your equation, back inside your x. Okay, so we can do that real quick here. All right, I have 3x plus 6 equals 5x plus 2. We got the answer x equals 2. Let's put it back in and we can see if it makes sense. So we have 3 times 2 plus 6. Does that equal the same thing on the right as 5 times 2 plus 2? Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 plus 6 is 12. On the right side, 5 times 2 is 12. I'm sorry, it's not 12, it's 10. One step ahead there. Okay. And let me go back. So 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. So we know that that's the right answer because when I substituted the solution back into the original equation, the left side and the right side were equal. Now, guys, that's just the review question. So let's get to the new material today. Okay, so here is our first equation that was on the last slide there. So my first step, that's a little new today, is to combine your like terms. So step 1, combine your like terms. Okay, whether it's on the right side or the left side. So over here on this left side, I have 5 minus 6. I want to combine those first. I only want to work with one side at a time at the beginning. Okay, draw a line going down. And as you can see, 5 minus 6 here does give me -1. So I have -1 plus 2x equals 4x plus 11 because over here on my right side, I am not allowed to add together 4x plus 11. That's a variable term, the 4x, and the 11 is a constant term. I cannot add those two together. Okay, so the only thing that's new here was I added 5 minus 6 to get me -1. And now I can take the baby bear to the mama bear. That's our next step. Our next step is to combine your variable terms. Okay, so step 2 is to combine your variable terms. Okay, now if you look at this, and we already talked about this in the first slide here, I have a positive 2x and I have a positive 4x. Look at your coefficients. The 2 is smaller than the 4. So I'm going to take my 2x over to the 4x. So in order to do that, I am subtracting 2x from both sides. Okay, I bring down my -1. My 2x and my 2x cross out. So -1 gets brought down, 2x and -2x go away, 4x minus 2x becomes the 2x, and plus 11. Okay, so now I am just left with my two-step equation. Okay, so that's step 3 is to either add or subtract. So add or subtract. Okay, and if you look here, well, this is a plus 11. I want to get rid of that. In order to get rid of a positive 11, you got to do the inverse, which is to add 11, or I'm sorry, subtract 11. That was a positive 11, so the inverse is to subtract 11. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So -1 and -11 is -12, and I bring down that 2x. Your last step here is to either divide or multiply. And mostly all of the problems that we're doing here, we are going to divide. So I'm going to write the last step here is to divide. Okay, so in this problem here, I'm going to divide by what number? Well, it's the number that's attached to my variable because the variable is what I want in the end. So I want to get rid of this x. So I want to divide both sides here by 2, not -2, positive 2, because this 2 divided by 2 gives me what I want left, which is an x. And -12 divided by 2 is a -6. Okay. Kind of stop that quicker than I wanted to, but if you need to go back and look at that problem again. And always, again, go back and substitute in the answers to the equation. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Same type of problem, guys. All right. First step that you might want to do, put your line going down through the equal sign. What's our next step? Next step says to combine like terms. Combine like terms over on the left side. Combine your like terms if you can on the right side. So if you look on the left side, it looks like I can combine this -4x and this positive 3x. Over on this right side, I can't do anything. So the only thing I can do, my first step here, is to combine my variable terms on one side. Don't try to take mama bear, baby bear over here yet. Not yet. The only time you're going to do baby bear, mama bear is if you have one on the left side and one on the right side. Okay, so now what's my next step? My next step then is, well, -4x and a positive 3x gives me a -1x. So I have 4, because I just bring down this 4. I didn't do anything with it. 4 minus 1x equals, and I just bring down the -2x and I bring down the -2. And now we're at the point of baby bear, mama bear. And if you look, -1x, and I have a -2x. Well, -1 and -2, which one's the baby bear, which one's the mama bear? Well, if you look at your number line, okay, and we have 0 here, and I'm going to go backwards because we're looking at negative numbers. I have -1, -2, -3, -4. -1 is bigger than -2, okay? Because the further away you are from 0, the smaller that you are. The closer you are to 0, the bigger you are. So -1 here is your mama bear, and -2 is your baby bear, okay? So I want to take this -2 over to the left side to the -1x. Okay. When we take it over to the other side, you have to take the opposite because you want to get rid of it. This -2x, to get rid of it, to go away, you have to make it a positive 2x. This was a minus, so you want to make it a plus. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so then I bring down my 4, and -1 plus 2x gives me 1x, and then we bring down the -2. Okay, and now we're at the point where we're at two-step equation, and we're going to now use inverse operations to add or subtract. So we want to get rid of this constant term of 4. To get rid of a positive 4, you make it a minus 4 on both sides. So the 4 and the negative 4 go away. Bring down this 1x. And negative 2 minus 4 is a negative 6. And like I said, the last step on almost all of these problems that I have in this slide is to divide the last step. So I'm going to divide both sides here by my coefficient, and my coefficient is 1. So I'm going to divide the left side by 1 and the right side by 1. And when I do that, I get my answer of x equals negative 6. And again, you can substitute in negative 6 back into your original equation for x. Okay, and if you need to stop, go back, rewind this, look at this again, you can. I'm going to go on to number 4. This one looks like a bigger problem. So, what is our first step to do? If we look at the left side here, I have 20 minus 4x plus 4x. And on the right side, I have 8x plus 8 plus 4x. Let's take one step at a time, one side at a time. Let's look at the left side here. What am I allowed to combine together? Am I allowed to combine anything together? Well, if you look, I have two terms here that have variables attached to it. So I'm allowed to combine those two together. I can combine the negative 4x and the positive 4x. And when I combine them, I get a 0x. Okay, but before I do that, let's take a look at my right side. On my right side, I'm allowed to combine the 8x and this positive 4x together. All right, so let's see when I do that, what happens? Well, the 20 on the left side, I just bring that on down. I didn't do anything with it. Negative 4x and a positive 4x gives me 0x, right? That's what I was allowed to combine. On my right side, 8x and 4x, I'm allowed to combine together to give me that 12x. And this positive 8, I just brought it right down. So my first step says to combine like terms on both sides of your equal sign. So what I am combining on my left side are my variable terms that I'm allowed to. And on my right side, I am also combining variable terms that I am allowed to. Okay, you still have to follow your rules of adding and subtracting like we've been doing. So I bring it down my 20, negative 4 plus 4 is a 0x, and 8x plus 4x gives me a 12x, and then I just bring down that plus 8. Okay, so then what's our next step? Well, that's my baby bear, mama bear step. Okay, but if you take a look, what I just have here, I kind of just got rid of that 0x. This 0x is nothing anymore. Okay, you can just get rid of that 0x if you want to, because 0x is 0. If you want to leave it there, you can, but you would just be subtracting 0x over to the 12x, which would give you this exact same equation. Okay, so now this problem actually is pretty simple. It looked a lot more complicated at the beginning, but all I had to do was combine my variable terms over on the left side, because that's what I was able to do, and combine my variables that I was allowed to on my right side. Okay, when you are combining on one side, you're just following the rules of adding and subtracting like normal. Do not I'm remembering a common mistake people used to do is they would try to do the opposite on the same side. You just want to take a look at the coefficients that you have on the same side and do the operation like normal. Okay. So at this point here, now it's just a two-step equation. So if I look here, look at my variable term, I have 12x, so I want to get rid of this plus 8. So I want to subtract 8 from both sides, okay? And the 8 and the negative 8 over on the right side go away, and I am left with 20 minus 8, which is 12, and I bring down that 12x. My last step is to divide, because this is 12x, which means 12 times x, 12 multiplied by x, and the inverse of multiplying by x is to divide by 12. So 12 multiplied by x Inverse, divide by 12. Divide by 12 on both sides. So your answer is x equals 1. And if you want to substitute that back into every x, you can. Okay, and see if it makes sense. And if you do that, you will see that the left side does equal the right side. And it will be that 20 equals 20. Okay, let's look at a few more problems. Let's take a look at the next question here. I have 18x plus 27 minus 5 equals negative x plus 3. Okay, first step, draw your line going down through the equal sign. What are we allowed to combine? Okay, let's take a look over here on the left side. I'm allowed to combine the 27 minus 5. They are my constant terms on my left side. Is there anything I can combine over on my right side? Am I allowed to combine negative x plus 3? No. Okay, so now I can go ahead and start solving my problem. And so my problem then becomes 18x plus 22 equals, and I just rewrote this so that you could see that this is a negative 1x plus 3. Okay, so again, I have 18x plus 22, and I got 22 because I combined 27 minus 5. I just looked at the numbers as they are on the left side. 27 minus 5 is 22. And I brought down the right side because I couldn't combine anything there. So now you're at the step where you're doing the baby bear, mama bear. So if you look at your variable terms on both sides of your equal sign, I have an 18x and I have a negative 1x. I hope that you know which one's your baby bear at this point. Your baby bear is going to be this negative 1x, and I'm going to take it over to the 18x. When you cross that equal sign, you are taking the opposite of that number. So this negative 1x is going to become a positive 1x. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So 18x plus 1x gives you 19x. Bring down this 22. The 1x and the negative 1x go away, and you bring down the 3. Okay, so now if you look at this, this should look just like a two-step equation. Your main goal is to get this x by itself, so I want to get anything that's on the same side as your variable out. So I want to get rid of this plus 22. In order to get rid of this plus 22, I got to make it its opposite. Its opposite is a negative 22, and I do that on both sides. Bring down the 19x, the 22 and the negative 22 go away, and 3 minus 22 is negative 19. As you can see, our last step in all of these problems is to divide. But what number am I dividing by? I am dividing by the number that's with the variable that's attached, and that number is called your coefficient. So you're going to divide both sides by that 19, and you end up getting your answer of x equals negative 1. Okay. And again, you can substitute that answer back into your equation where you see an x, and it should equal each other. Okay. I have 2 more examples to go through with you. If you feel good with it at this point, you can go ahead and move on to your assignment. You can continue following along with me. Let's take a look at another problem. So I have 4x plus 12x minus 36 equals 28. Well, I have on my left side here, I want to combine some terms here. So I have 4x and a 12x. I can combine those together. That 36 has to stay there right now because there's no x attached to it. And same thing with this 28. There's nothing else over on my right side that I can combine it with. So let's move on. So I have 4x plus 12x. I can combine those two together, and I get 16x. So 4x and 12x is 16x. I bring down the 36 with the negative, and then I just bring down my 28. Well, then you might think, well, where's the baby bear, mama bear step? There isn't one here. There's no baby bear, there's no mama bear. We just went from step 1 now to step 3. There is not a baby bear, mama bear. We are just now at a 2-step equation. Okay, so the rest of this problem should be quite easy. We want to add 36 to both sides. We want to bring down that 16x. The 36 and the negative 36 cross out. 28 plus 36 is 64. And our last step here is to divide by 16. Divide by that coefficient. And your answer is x equals 4. And again, if you want to substitute your answer back into each x in your original equation and see if it works out, the left side and the right side should be equal. Okay, let's take a look at one more question. And then the last slide is just some more examples that, some more YouTube videos that has more examples on there with somebody else going through more examples, more questions. Okay, so let's take a look at one more problem. So I have 2x plus 4 minus 5 equals 3x plus 3. So first step, draw your line so that you know what you have. You have a left side, you have a right side. Over on my left side, I have a 4 minus 5. That's what I'm allowed to combine. On the right side, there's nothing I can combine. I am not allowed to combine 3x plus 3. One has a variable, one does not. So my next step then here at this point is bring down your 2x. Okay, bring down your 2x, and positive 4 minus 5 does give us that negative 1. And I just bring down the 3x and I brought down my 3. First step, combined your like terms. Second step is the baby bear, mama bear step. If you look at your baby bear, mama bear, look at your variable terms. You have a 2x and you have a positive 3x. Well, your baby bear looks like the 2x. The 2x is smaller than the 3x. So the baby bear wants to meet its mama bear. So to take the 2x over to the 3x, it has to become its opposite because I want the 2x to go away on the left side. So this is a positive 2x. So we want to make it a negative 2x. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. The 2x's, the positive 2 and the negative 2 go away. I bring down the negative 1. And don't forget to bring down the negative with it. If you forget to bring down the negative with it, you're going to run into some problems. 3x minus 2x is 1x, and I bring down this positive 3. Now we're at a 2-step equation. The next step I want to do is to get rid of this plus 3. So I want to, since it's adding 3, I want to subtract 3 from both sides. Negative 1 minus 3 is a negative 4. I bring down that 1x, the 3 and the negative 3 go away. My last step is to divide by 1. And again, why am I dividing my last step? Is because this is 1 multiplied by x, or x multiplied by 1. To get rid of multiplication, you are dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides here by the positive 1. So negative 4 divided by 1 gives me negative 4. So negative 4 equals x. And if you want to substitute it back in, you can. Since I have some space over here, I'm going to substitute that back in. So I have 2x plus 4 minus 5 equals 3x plus 3. So I'm going to substitute this back in. So 2 times negative 4, that's negative 8. I'm just going to rewrite my left side here. So negative 8 plus 4 gives me negative 4. Negative 4 minus 5 does give me negative 9. Am I going to get that on my right side? I hope so, because I think I solved the problem right. So I'm going to put that negative 4 back into my x. So that's 3 times negative 4 plus 3. Well, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. But what's negative 12 plus 3? Well, that's negative 9. And that is the right answer because my left side equals my right side when I put the value for the variable back in. Okay, these are the examples for today. Again, if you need to stop, rewind, rewatch, come back to this at a later time, feel free. And again, like I said, In this next slide, I have some example videos that I found on YouTube that will also be helpful to watch. If you go into the original slide presentation, this is the last slide, you can click on them. Okay, if you have any questions, please come to our office hours every day at 11 a.m. If you have questions on your assignments, make sure you try them and ask us during those office hours. You can email your teachers as well. Okay, have a great day.